It's the Unhappy Hour.
All right, everybody, welcome back. If you're listening live, that took just a matter of seconds. If you're listening after the fact, thank you for finding us at youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia, maybe embedded at thenewamericanmedia.com, maybe on our Facebook page or feed. Our Facebook page, if you do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between, you can like the page. Or maybe you caught it on Twitter at American_media_. So, yes, Zak Baris, we were just talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers in the early NBA season. You're saying don't sweat it, don't worry. Fine.
No, I wouldn't panic too much.
Fine, I'm not going to panic too much. Now, what's the opposite of panic? Celebration, calm?
Don't celebrate it right now. Just, as LeBron was saying, relax.
All right. Okay, I'm not going to celebrate the Browns too much right now, but it's good to take a step back at this point, more than halfway through the season, and realize that the Cleveland Browns are tied for first place. As the playoffs started today, we're in the playoffs playing the Chiefs in a wild card game. And
at home.
Yes, at home.
By the way, any questions? Would you fly in for the game?
Hold on. Are you on speakerphone now? Did something change?
No, I'm not on speakerphone.
Okay. Would I fly? Would I go in for? You know, I will say this: when Cleveland wins our first title, I got a pretty strong hunch I might be at that parade. As far as coming in for all of the big games, I don't know about that. I will hopefully have to hear you ask me that question in a month or so.
Well, let's put it this way. Today I landed in Vegas this morning wearing my Cleveland Browns orange dry fit, long sleeve with a pair of shorts. Walking around Vegas, I've had over 20 people come up to me saying, "Go Browns," just around Vegas.
In Vegas, go Browns. Go Browns!
Like, no joke.
Yeah, my cousin just asked a question about my Twitter feed. It had all these people wearing Browns jerseys at watching the game last night. And my cousin said, "Man, I don't know what it is with you." She's from California. She's like, "I don't know what it is with you finding." It's like you find every Ohio sports fan ever. You just have a knack of finding them, and they magnetize to you. And it's you wear your gear, you wear your colors. And wear your personal jersey out, or a bright orange shirt, or a hat, and it's like that's your way of knowing you have something in common with that dude, more likely than not. And I remember being in the Cayman Islands when we were talking about that, and I caught some Ohio State people walking on the other side of the road on the island, and I'm like, "Guys, watch this." O-H! I'm like, "What are you doing?" From across the street, a few of them, I-O! My cousins both look at me, they're like, "Okay, you must be some sort of magician. I don't understand what you just did right there. I don't know what they call this in the wild, but I've never seen that before." No, but I mean, across the country, the Thursday night game, this was the biggest game that the Browns have played since '99. Would you agree?
No, the playoff game was in 2002.
That was bigger?
That was an actual playoff game.
Yeah, but was that team really expected to...
With Kelly Holcomb, their offense was dominating. I mean, and
Butch
Davis really screwed up the game plan, and but that was the biggest game. That's the biggest game since '99. This is up there. And the other biggest game was in 2007 when Derek Anderson was in Cincinnati. They lost.
Yeah, bad weather that game, if I recall.
Derek Anderson threw 4 picks. It reminded me last night. I was talking to my friend.
Oh, Vandy Dalton.
Party this for the weekend. And he goes to me yesterday afternoon, he goes, "I've got a really bad feeling about tonight's game." And I was like, "I don't for some reason. I really don't." I go, something tells me Andy Dalton's going to really screw up and play a horrible game. And he did.
Was it that he played a horrible game, or was it that our defense was just clicking on all cylinders?
It was a combination of both. I mean, the defense wasn't letting up last night. I mean, their coverage was phenomenal. They got a ton of pressure on the quarterback. I mean, just everything. I mean, let's put it this way. Phil Taylor, who looked awful early in the season, pre-injury, looked unbelievable last night. Desmond Bryant looked unbelievable. The defense is finally healthy. They look fantastic.
Yeah, Kruger's looking good. Still waiting on Billy Wynn.
I mean, don't forget, this team's won 5 of their last 6 games. Nobody realizes that. The only game they've lost in the last 6 games is Jacksonville. And the defense played really well that game. With the offense, you had the muff punt by Jordan Poyer, which put them right in the end zone.
Oh, we had another muff punt last night, though. That's special teams. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, But that's the thing, though, is the Browns' defense has been incredible over the last 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, and they're
really
getting healthy, and it's like Justin Gilbert now. Because there was an injury, he was allowed to jump in there for a little bit after he had been
really
demoted.
Well last night.
I think it was good. They gave him the reins. They let him be the starter, and then it's like, whoa, buddy, man, we got to coach you up a little bit more. Sit back. We'll pull you in on a few plays. And then after the injury, when he had to get in there, it's like, okay, no, I got this, and I'm not giving it up this time. Like, he seems like a totally different player. And, I mean, Hayden and Hittner, I mean, these guys are playing fantastic football right now.
Yeah. They look great. They're playing well together. They look fantastic. And the secondary is really coming together. I can't say a bad word about the defense right now. They even did a decent job stopping the run last night.
Oh, we can say this. We can say Tayshaun Gibson dropped a surefire interception.
Yeah, but he forced a fumble, and it wasn't that big of a deal.
Okay. Fair enough. It reminds him that he's mortal, that he's a mortal man. Now, on offense, talk about the three-headed beast. I mean, we remember as Cleveland fans, if you can think back far enough, when we had 2,000-yard running backs in Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack. I mean, we have 3 running backs that each got a touchdown, and they all got kind of a split of attempts yesterday. Talk about the three-headed beast in Dogtown.
I mean, that's another thing, too. Last year the team didn't have a running back, and now they actually have, they've got 3 viable running backs who can come out there and, each of them can withstand a load of 20 carries a game. And I think the thing is, Terrence West's average hasn't been 4 or 5 yards a carry. The thing is, I mean, he fights for some tough yardage.
Yeah.
Real tough yardage.
Down at the goal line. I find that he almost leans sideways and then vaults forward, and wherever he ping-pongs, he ends up. I've seen some interesting runs out of Terrence West.
It's the same thing with Crowell. Crowell always dives for an extra 2 yards, it seems like, in every carry. And I think the Browns have found something. I mean, here's the thing. Looking at it this year, this team's 6-3. I don't want to even look ahead because they did that before. And this team's going to be 6-2 after they beat Jacksonville. After they beat all these teams.
We all did that.
I'm not looking ahead like that anymore. I'm taking it game by game. And now you've got the Texans coming up. And right after that, you've got Josh Gordon coming back. So the Texans game, it's at home. It's an AFC game. It's a game you've got to win. It's an in-conference game. Ryan Mallett's going to be starting. It'll be interesting to see what he does this Sunday. Let's hope he sucks.
Well, I said with Ryan Mallett, don't forget, he's also a Belichick and Tom Brady student, just like Brian Hoyer. So my guess is, after a few years sitting on the bench, you might have a decent quarterback over there. I'm not writing him off.
You might not. I mean, it just depends.
Yeah, I mean,
it really just depends.
Yeah, I'm not going to overlook
Belichick
that.
Gave him up for pretty much nothing, so there's something to it. There's something to that. If he gave him up for nothing and drafted Jimmy Garoppolo, meaning that is Ryan Mallett really the future in New England? Obviously not. He gave him up for nothing.
Well, what did they get? What did they get for Brian Hoyer?
Don't forget, Hoyer was a journeyman at that point. Hoyer left for the Arizona, for the Cardinals and the Steelers. He was just at that point. I don't know if I really believe Mallett's going to do much. I really hope he doesn't, though, because the Browns really need to win next week. If you can move to 7-3 next week and beat the Texans with 6 games remaining, if you can finish out 3-3, you're going to the playoffs.
I mean, you think Cincinnati's looking forward to playing us again this time at home, even though Jeremy Hill wasn't impressed?
No, Cincinnati is. I mean, last year we beat. I mean, this is the same thing. Is Brian Hoyer controlled the football? What drives me nuts about Cleveland is you got an idiot in Chuck Booms. I don't even know why I'm mentioning the guy's name, but I was driving to the airport this morning listening to that stupid moron on the radio because there was a commercial on Mike and Mike, and I'm listening to this moron talk, and he's like, "Wow, it's Sunday football with my quarterback. Brian Hoyer throwing touchdowns," and I was like, he didn't need to throw a touchdown. It doesn't matter. A win's a win. He played great football that passed down to Gary Barnidge down to the 2-yard line, set up the touchdown. That's what it takes. It doesn't matter. I don't care if Brian Hoyer throws for another touchdown pass this season. If they run the ball on every time, I'm going to be happy with it. I don't care. A score's a score. If he's setting up drives to lead you to that score, it doesn't matter. And I think he played really well last night again. And don't forget, he did it without Andrew Hawkins. He did it without Jordan Cameron. He did it on a short week.
Well, Alex Mack, Jordan Cameron, and Josh Gordon, those are 3 Pro Bowlers. You think of any team. Take away Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. Take away, a lineman, a receiver, and a big time offensive threat. I mean, how many teams are going to be able to withstand that? Don't forget, for a couple weeks ago, for two or 3 weeks in a row after the Alex Mack injury, I mean, the Browns were struggling to run for 60 yards a game.
Exactly.
Something has changed.
Got pushed on the football last night, and it really helped. And the thing is, looking at this team too, when they're healthy, they have very few holes on that entire team. Very few. You look at the secondary; they're young. You've got Hayden, you've got Screen, you've got Gilbert, you've got Keywan Williams, you've got Whitner and Gibson. You've got a very good secondary. Your linebackers are very good too. Now, Kirksey looked phenomenal last night. Craig Robertson's really coming into his own. He's been playing much better.
Yeah.
Sheard looked phenomenal. Mingo looked good. Dansby's he's in another world. He's unbelievable. And then you look at the D-line. The D-line is where they have a couple of holes. But don't forget, this team has 2 first-round picks next year. They've got a second, they've got a third, and 2 fourths.
Man. Say that again. 2 first-round picks, a second,
a third, and 2 fourths.
So, man.
I mean, they're stocked again with picks, and they have a lot of cap room. I mean, but don't forget, you've got Sheard, who's an unrestricted free agent. You've got Jordan Cameron, and you've got Brian Hoyer. Right. I would imagine they're going to lock up at least 2 of the 3. And my guess is they're going to try and re-sign Cameron and Sheard and franchise Hoyer would be my guess.
I wonder what Jordan Cameron would
think if Hoyer manages to lead this team to the playoffs too. This is another thing you're going to have to see what happens too. If Hoyer leads the team to the playoffs, they're not going to go get rid of him overnight. That's where you explore them. If a team like the Jets, let's say the Jets have a top 5 pick, listen, we'll give you the number 4 overall pick and we'll take Johnny Manziel. Do you do it? And if you're the Cleveland Browns at that point, you have to be saying to yourself, we've got a chance to get a top 5 pick in this draft. I'm not saying I'm just saying theoretically, hypothetically, it could happen. And the Jets, because Johnny would already have a year of experience, he'd bring that lightning bolt to New York. And it's a possibility that could happen. The Jets are a quarterback-starved team who might not be in love with Jameis Winston. And who knows if Jameis Winston, if this whole point-shaving thing, we'll get into that later, if he's involved in that, he'll never play it down again.
That guy's just nothing but trouble, man.
No, and that's the thing. If I were an NFL GM, I wouldn't select him.
I would stay as far away from him as possible. But yeah, that is an issue that the Browns will have to face as quarterback.
It's a good issue to face.
It is a good issue to face. Of course, you hear if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. But Manziel had the chance to win out the job, and he did not win the job. That's fine. That's fair. But I was saying this today. What would be wrong with the Browns going right now to Brian Hoyer and says, "Listen, let's do a 3-4 year contract, $30-40 million. But buddy, you're going from a couple million to $30 or $40 million.
Here's the difference, though. If Brian Hoyer races on free agency, what's stopping the New York Jets, who are a quarterback-starved football team, or even the Buffalo Bills, who are very close to being there? They're a very good team, and Kyle Orton's good. Brian Hoyer's a better quarterback than Kyle Orton, though. What's stopping those teams from saying, you know what? I tend to think Brian Hoyer will get Carson Palmer money, and what Carson Palmer just got 3 for $50 million today is what we're looking at for Brian Hoyer.
3 for 50.
Which is, it comes out to almost 17 million.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. I didn't finish my thought. And that was my fault. I didn't clarify. I said give him a $30 million contract for about 4 years or something like that.
You're not going to get that. Brian Hoyer's going to command way more than
No. What I didn't finish was this part. Was that you make it very heavily incentive-laden on victories and the success of your team. Not just you going lights out with 300-yard games, because that's just not who this guy is. But incentive-laden for making the playoffs, for finishing first in the division, for going to AFC title games and stuff like that.
My guess is that he will be in the contract extension range for 3 years, $48 million is my guess is what it's going to be.
And then
that's my guess.
And then at what point is Johnny Manziel going to... Do you think he would be okay sitting back here with a successful team and learning?
He might not have a choice.
Well, yes, every player has a choice to go behind the scenes and to call the GM as your agent and say,
listen... The
thing
is, the Browns are going to want value for him, and if they don't get value for him, they don't have to trade him. You need a good backup, and that might be Manziel's chance to shine. Hoyer, like we said, like we saw last year, Hoyer, the Browns were 2-2. In the middle of the game, they won against Buffalo. I mean, who knows what the Browns would have done last year? Who would be the coach right now in this football team if Brian Hoyer didn't get injured last year? Seriously, which he didn't still be here. They could have finished off the year with over 500. Don't forget they beat Cincinnati last year. They beat Minnesota, and they went and beat Buffalo. And then, when Hoyer was gone in the early part of that game, I mean, that team could have very well have been a 9-7 football team last year. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a running game, so it would have been very tough, because Brian Hoyer works with a very good running game.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. If you're the Browns, you go to Hoyer and say, okay, I'm going to play GM for a minute. Just hear me out for a moment. I go to Brian Hoyer and say, listen, Carson Palmer, 3 years, $50 million. Rattle off a few stats. You say, listen, here's the deal. I want you to get paid as well as those guys if we're making it to the AFC Championship game on a consistent basis, and I want you to do better if we win the Super Bowl. That's the long-term plan. I don't want to see you blow out your knee and have nothing to show for it in your bank other than a couple $1 million and what used to be a promising football career. You went through that last year. Let's do this $30 million deal, heavily incentive.
Like I said, he's not going to agree to it, and you don't see incentive-laden deals like that for quarterbacks. It just doesn't happen. It isn't.
Is there anything is there anything to say that it couldn't be done that way?
I don't think it would. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to take a deal like that. I mean, the thing is, too, and the Browns need to be very careful in trading Johnny, too, because, like you said, when you've got established a football team, don't forget that the Browns have spent 4 of the last 5 years building this football team of getting talent, and finally plugging in a quarterback that worked, plugging in the running backs that work. You had good guys on defense. And then what did you do in the offseason? You went out and signed Whitner, who's been phenomenal. He's been the 7th best safety in the NFL going into this week. Well, T.J. Ward's been like the 63rd, according to Pro Football Focus. So you upgraded your safety position. DeQuan Jackson's been the 2nd worst middle linebacker this season in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. Who's the number 1 middle linebacker in football? Carlos Dansby.
Wow.
I mean, that's the thing is you've upgraded this team so much. You really upgraded this football team defensively, and that's exactly what Ray Farmer did. They're finally plugging the holes in. And next year, what do? You go out and you grab another offensive lineman in free agency, so in case someone does go down.
Yeah, I say you got to use one of those first-round picks on an offensive lineman.
Well, I don't think so, because you're starting O-line in general. Mitchell Schwartz has been phenomenal this season. Greco at right guard has been great. Alex Mack, unbelievable. Joel Bitonio, unbelievable. And Joe Thomas, unbelievable. I mean, that's why. You don't need to piss away a first-rounder on an offensive lineman. What you need depth, maybe a second or a third rounder. Look how good Bitonio's been.
Yeah, but I mean, we're how many years deep into Joe Thomas? We saw what happens when one Alex Mack goes down. I don't know. I'm just saying your team is always going to have a chance.
The first rounder that's not going to start on the O-line. That's the thing is the Browns have built this O-line. Don't forget, they spent a first-round pick on Thomas, second-rounder on Bitonio, first-rounder on Mack. Greco is, I think, signed in free agency. A second-rounder on Mitchell Schwartz. You spent a lot of early picks on this offensive line, and there's a reason why they were one of the top lines in football, because you spent early picks on it. I'm not disagreeing with spending a pick on the O-line, but maybe a second or a third rounder rather than go, this first and second rounder should be starting immediately on the O-line.
Yeah.
And in recent years, it's very tough to find a franchise lineman, a franchise tackle.
People don't let him go.
Thomas is one of the few.
Yeah, they don't let him go. You got to draft him and keep him.
And there are very few franchise left tackles, and a lot of these guys that look at the St. Louis Rams, bust after bust at their offensive tackle position, and they spent countless picks on them. I mean, the Browns, I trust their scouting department because they've got a lot of talent on this football team. They did another great draft this year. I mean, Gilbert's played well in the last couple of games. He's starting to really come around. Terrence West has looked good. Crowell's looked good. Bitonio's, potential Pro Bowler this year. I mean, they've really, Keywan Williams, an undrafted free agent in the secondaries, look great. They really had some big. I mean, they really hit it in the draft this past year. And the year before, they did nothing in the draft. They traded away all those picks. And like I said, you're stockpiled again this year. You've got a ton of cap room. Next year, this is going to be a very, very, very dangerous football team. With especially, I trust Ray Farmer. And as much as people hate Banner and Lombardi, I didn't trust them going into this year, and I'm glad they're gone. But at the same time, they set Cleveland up really nicely. They had a lot of cap room going into the season, and they had a ton of picks.
That is true. And I'm wondering about Jordan Cameron with his concussions. He's had a couple now. Wes Welker isn't the same. I mean, obviously, it's a different stage of his career.
Cameron will be fine. The problem is he just gets knocked around too much. I mean, they throw into coverage a lot. I think that'll change when Josh Gordon comes back. And I think you'll really see the offense open up because it's going to allow Miles Austin, Andrew Hawkins, and Keeler Gabriel, and Travis Benjamin You can take more shots down the field because you're not going to have any double coverage on those guys. All your double coverage is going to go straight to Josh Gordon.
Yeah, but even you know what's even going to help is those underneath routes when Cameron's extending the field through the middle and Gordon's taking it down a side. All these crossing routes over the middle. I mean, you get someone that fast and talented. If all the defensive backs have cleared out trying to cover Gordon and Cameron, there's a lot of room over the middle for these guys.
Forget how good. I mean, I am shocked. I am shocked that no one wanted Miles Austin this offseason. I'm shocked. With the way he's played, he's one of the best possessors. I mean, he's the key playmaker for the Browns on offense.
Kind of like a Joe Juravicius?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what he is, except I think he's even better.
Like a Brian Brennan going back even further. But yeah, maybe he didn't look that good. I'm surprised Miles Austin has been as good as he has. A lot of people are surprised.
I mean, it is surprising it isn't, because a few years ago, just 2-3 years ago, he was one of the top 5, top 10 receivers in football. And, you know, he had the injuries, he tailed off, but I mean, he's been just phenomenal. And just wait till you get Hawkins in space, you know, Gabriel that he brought those screens. I mean, those screens are going to start going to Josh Gordon soon. Remember what he did last year on those screen plays? I mean, he took one for 80 yards in the New England game. He took one in the Jacksonville game for like 90 yards. I mean, he blows up. He's so fast and he's tough to tackle.
Yeah, I think Chris Berman would say, whoop! Something like that. Yeah, you just slip. If you don't grab him when you have the chance, that kid is fast. And you know, he tweeted out, Josh Gordon was tweeting out if he could make the Pro Bowl this year, only playing in a few games. Like, he's really either confident
in 6 games and had 800-900 yards receiving. I think it'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, pretty funny. Awesome. I would absolutely love that. I mean, on one hand, it's like, well, it's too bad that the Browns have all these missing pieces because they could be really clicking on all cylinders. Then on the other hand, it's given everybody else a chance to step up in different ways, and then as this team incrementally gets more healthy, dangerous team to play in the playoffs this year, I would say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it's exactly. They're going to be, you know, they're one of those teams that nobody wants to play right now. You don't know what you're about the Browns any given week. They're going to play down to their competition. The offense was very vanilla for a few weeks. And last night, we just went and exploded on Cincinnati. It's you know, that's the thing, is it's why I expect them to come out against the Texans and hit up hard next week. Yeah, he's got J.A. Watt. Cleveland got Joe Thomas, they're going to be fine. You know, Thomas is arguably having one of the best seasons ever for an offensive attack. He really is. The guy's allowed 3 pressures all year on the quarterback. 3.
Man.
I mean, he's been so good. He's been so good. They're going to be, you know, they've been able to run the ball. Houston's offense isn't able to do much. I really think next week is your big key to the ticket to the season. If you can go and beat Houston next week, then you go past, and then you have 6 games with Gordon coming back. You know, and you're like, we need to win 3 of these games, and we need to beat Cincy or Baltimore. We do that, we've got it. We've got it. We'll have that playoff game. And I can tell you right now, if they make the playoffs, I will be going to that wild card game.
Did you go to the game? Have you been to every Browns home game this year?
I've been to every Browns home game this year. I'm a season ticket holder. I've got 2 sets of seats. And one of them I sold to my business partner because he was looking for tickets, so I sold him my second set of seats. And I got those after the second home game. But my other seats, yeah, I've had. And like I said, I managed to fly in for every game. You know, wherever I am, I managed to make it back for every Browns home game.
Man, you know, talk about the culture difference. I mean, you see that Pumpkinhead character kind of giving like a face to the fans, and you see, you know, the stadium with the new scoreboards and just the energy down there. It's kind of like
exactly. I mean, don't forget those scoreboards keep in all the noise that used to go out, and don't forget the fans never used to give a crap about that team. I mean, they were so bad.
They were bad. It's hard to get excited for bad stuff.
And it's tough to cheer. You know, in the middle of November when you're sitting there at 2-5 or 2-6, why do people want to show up to the game? Why are people going to show up on time? People just want to get drunk and go and watch football. That's it. Now it's at the point where you've got fans, I mean, that are genuinely into it. They're standing up every third down. I mean, that stadium was very quiet against the Raiders. It was the only game it wasn't loud for all year. And against Tampa Bay again, it was very loud. And I can tell you next Sunday that stadium is going to be packed and it is going to be loud.
I actually got chastised at the Ravens game. The guy behind me was, "Oh, you're killing me, Engelman," because I kept standing, and that as the Browns were letting that slip away, as they were letting the Ravens win that game. That was my personal fan experience, and I was kind of up there. But yeah, it's definitely a different environment when the team is winning. I've been to some really bad seasons and some really bad games and some bad seasons in the past decade.
Me too, dude. Me too. I dreaded. I used to dread living in LA and watching my Sunday ticket every Sunday and watching the Browns lose leads. I mean, this is a team that finally discovered. I mean, not only. Here's the difference. The Browns always used to have leads at halftime. Last year, don't forget, they led in halftime, like the first 8 or 9, 10 games of the year. They blew a lead every time in the fourth quarter. I've never seen a team blow so many fourth quarter leads in my life. And this year, they're down heading into the fourth quarter against the Saints. What did they do? They come back and beat the Saints. They come back and beat the Titans. They came back and beat the Buccaneers. I mean, that's the difference between this team and last year's team. Last year's team lost. I mean, even in the last 4, 5, 6 years, this team would always have leads going into the fourth quarter and then just blow every single one. This one, when they get the ball, I'm not even sitting there worried. I'm going, okay, they're going to come back and they're going to take the lead. I have no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, it's way different when you expect to win versus you're bracing yourself, finding a way to lose. It's
the play calling on offense is great. Jim O'Neill's done a fantastic job at the defense. I don't know why everybody loved Ray Horton so much last year. I'm looking back at it now, and I'm looking at how many fourth quarter leads did we blow.
Oh, what was that? The Patriots one? That one stands out.
The Patriots, the Jaguars. I mean, I remember the Jaguars game last year when they blew that one, in the last second. I mean, the last minute of that one. I mean, it was really tough to be a Browns fan these last few years.
Man, and how much of that, I was talking about the change of everything from the fans to the stadium to just the confidence of the team. Obviously some of these things have nothing to do with the head coach, but where...
It's just the culture. It's the culture. They've installed a winning culture. You have people in the front office. I mean, don't forget, when Randy Lerner was younger, this team, he obviously didn't give a crap about this team. He really didn't.
He really didn't.
The stadium was falling apart. There were no updates. There was no... Look at the fan experience. You've been to a game this year. I can tell you in my 15 years of going to Browns games in the new stadium, they've never had a fan experience. They didn't care about the fans. Now you see the Browns putting on a tailgate outside. They genuinely care about the fans. I don't care if it's a money-making. I don't care if it's just for money-making purposes, but I can tell you this fan base actually cares about the fan. They want to know your general opinion. They're there to make your game day experience better. I mean, the scoreboard, just everything. The food. I mean, it's going into it. People actually want to go to games now when it's cold. I have people begging me to go to games. Like, oh, really? Can I get a ticket? Can I get a ticket? That weeks where I've had 6 or 7 people asking me for a ticket to the game.
You're going to have to get some more next year.
I probably will. It depends. I might just get another set of seats and sell.
How much of this winning culture, obviously, now from the top bottom, like you said, with Lerner, he cared more about his soccer team. Always, this was always just a side thing. Thank God the Lerners are gone. Let's just embrace that for a moment as well. I haven't said that in a while, and thank God they're gone.
I'm not saying Al Lerner was a bad one, but Randy it wasn't his team. It was something he inherited from his dad, and I don't think he ever wanted it.
Hey.
And like I said, I don't love Jimmy Haslam, but he's brought the right people. Just Haslam just seems like a scummy guy sometimes. But the thing is, I mean, Shiner's done a hell of a job. I mean, Ray Farmer, all the guys he's brought in, Mike Pettine, he may have been the 6th or 7th choice as head coach. They couldn't even get a coordinator here, but, Kyle Shanahan's done a hell of a job. Mike Pettine's been a hell of a coach. They really look like they got it right this time.
Now, what do you see out of the head coach? Obviously, we're getting the results on the field, which then you look at the coach and go, "Hey, good job, coach." But what are you actually seeing that's showing you that Mike Pettine?
You look at guys who are actually players respecting their head coach that want to go and play for their head coach and win football games. They're calling the right plays at the right time. He's making the right decision, whether to punch or go for it on 4th down. I mean, don't forget this team is 2 snaps away from being 8-1.
Yeah.
But be lucky they're 6-3 because, like I said, they could have easily lost the Saints game.
Oh, we could have easily lost the
Tampa.
The Titans game.
They could exactly. That's what I'm saying.
The Raiders until the fourth quarter.
They could be 3. No, the Raiders, they won that game. They were up by 17 points with a few minutes left.
No. I mean, in the fourth quarter, that's where that happened. Yeah.
This team could easily be a 3-6 football team. That's what I'm saying. They could be 8-1. They could be 3. It's good coaching. I mean, honestly, if this was last year, the odds are they'd probably be a 3-6 football team, or 2-7, 4-5. I can tell you right now, they would not be 6-3. And this is this late in the season that they're in first place. I mean, they were 9-5 a few years ago in first place when Derek Anderson, crumbled in Cincinnati. And this is something you knew that defense. The offense had to have the ball at the last minute in order to win. This time, you can mainly trust the defense. I've got a lot of faith in this defense. They haven't blown it in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, and
even against
I'll give them credit
Jacksonville,
for
that was the offense that just sputtered out of control at the end. I think they lost Alex Mack and didn't know what to do.
And let's tie those two storylines together then. The Browns' offensive line lost Alex Mack, and it took a little while to build some chemistry and figure it out.
Nick McDonald looked much better last night.
And let's just say maybe that's what the Cavs are going through with LeBron and Kyrie and Love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to find how this all works. And it's going to take some time, but talent will eventually dominate. Talent will eventually get there. If you're all willing to buy in, it's going to happen. So I think there's a nice correlation there. What do you think the score is going to be next week? Texans at home, Cleveland Browns at home.
I'm going to go with Cleveland 24, Houston 14.
I just wrote, what do you say, 24-14?
Yeah.
I just put down 30-14, Cleveland Browns.
Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I mean, it could be 24-7. I expect the Browns to come up there and pummel the Texans.
That's
what they should do. They've got a break now. You've got 10 days off. This is your time to get healthy. Jordan Cameron can get healthy. Andrew Hawkins can get healthy. This is your time where Phil Taylor can get back even stronger. This is the Browns' chance to really come out there and really do it. And like I said, I don't expect them to come lay an egg. The old Browns, I would expect them to come out there and lay an egg. But the thing is, I was always nervous for the Browns. Last night I had so much confidence going into the game. And when Craig Robertson picked up that first pass, you're like, all right, they punched it in the end zone. They did what they needed. They scored off a turnover.
Yeah.
And not a stupid field goal. They got a touchdown of it. And then when Jim Leonard did it, I was just like, oh, shoot. I was like, God damn. And, they only got a field goal, and the Browns went back in the next drive and punched it down their throat again. And you're like, okay, this game's over.
Yeah, that fumble had me going, oh, no. You're thinking of Dwayne Rudd. You're thinking about all these weird ways we find to, we've discovered to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory over the years. But you're right. We reacted. We responded. We recalibrated. This game was never really in doubt, and that felt good for once. That felt really good. It felt as. Did this game feel as good as beating Pittsburgh, better, or about the same?
Yeah, no, it felt. Here's the thing: when they beat Pittsburgh, that was their coming out party.
They
did that last night. They started to get national attention when they beat Pittsburgh, and I didn't mean just to beat Pittsburgh. I mean killed Pittsburgh. Look at the way Pittsburgh's been playing. They're 6-3.
Yeah.
I mean, you destroyed them. You beat the crap out of them.
But I don't think that was our coming out party. I think it took this game last night against Cincinnati to come out.
Was their coming out party.
But people weren't trusting it, Zach. People weren't believing it. They were.
Yeah, now people are going in there and they're going, oh, well, the Browns are no pushover. And it's not like they beat Pittsburgh 31-28. They were beating Pittsburgh 31-3 going into the final minute.
Yeah, that's true. They got some garbage points.
And they beat Cincinnati 24-3. I mean, these are two AFC powerhouses right now that they smashed. They didn't go in there and beat them. They beat the crap out of them. There's a difference.
That is true, and I like it. I like it, and I want to ask you this because something else.
They're statement wins. Those games are both statement wins.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, like I said, everybody today has been coming up to me here in Las Vegas going, "Go Browns!" I mean, Browns fans are coming out of the woodwork.
It is nice. I've been seeing more and more of them at the place where we watch some of the games live.
Trust me. Imagine if they make the playoffs. I mean, imagine if they got a first round
we make
game
the playoffs.
In Indianapolis.
When we make the playoffs.
Imagine when they make the playoffs. Let's say they got a first-round game in Indianapolis. That seems to be 50% Browns fans. I would much rather have a home game because that stadium would be absolutely nuts.
Will be absolutely nuts. Let's say it will be. Let's actually buy into this.
Let's say it will be nuts. I'm saying no because I don't know what the matchup's going to be.
Right, of course.
Let's just say you get Kansas City at home. The stadium is going to be so loud. In the middle of January. And like I said, I got my buddy's wedding January 19th. I'm already prepared just in case I will be buying flight insurance. Whose bachelor party I'm at right now. I can tell you that right now, if the Browns for some reason are in that AFC Championship game that weekend, I will not be going down to the wedding.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, guys.
Unless they're playing the Dolphins in Miami, I will not be going.
I'll send you a card. I hope it goes well. Love you both. Gotta go. Browns are on. No, it absolutely is, man. It is something that takes a priority, and it's something that, you know, like when LeBron came back last week and you saw that Nike commercial, you know, 1, 2, 3 together, you know, and you know, it's giving pride to Cleveland again. And you've been one of the people that has really been, you know, touting Cleveland coming back for a long time. You've really been talking about it for man, a couple of years at this point, and really it just seems like the culture of Cleveland is changing with LeBron, with Johnny Manziel, with the Browns pushing for the playoffs.
Brian, you were at my apartment downtown. I mean, Cleveland didn't have a building like that a couple of years ago.
Which is sad, because it's pretty cool.
It is, but it did. I mean, it had some nice apartments, but nothing like this. I mean, this is something that you're sitting there. I mean, it was nicer than my apartment in L.A. I had a very nice apartment in L.A. And, I mean, this is something that literally, I mean, it's, you know, it's at the point where, I mean, you saw, we got ice delivered up to the apartment.
What was the phrase that they used on the phone about the ice?
Oh, I'll pull all my resources to get you the size that you do that.
I'll pull all my resources to get you some ice. It's like, how many bars do you have in this place? Just run one up. This ain't rocket science.
Yeah, there's 2 restaurants and 2 bars in the place. I think you can get time some ice. And
I'll pull all my resources.
I was like, you know, but what I'm getting is Cleveland's on the upswing. It's just, it seems like it's new apartment after new apartment, new office building, and new office building, more hotels sprouting up there all over the place right now. And culture change in Cleveland. It went from not having a skyscraper built since 2000, and all of a sudden you've got a 37-story Hilton going up. It's just new building after new building, and the project that's going to change Cleveland just got approved today. You know, that's going to take up 2 whole street blocks and build 5 new skyscrapers, you know, in the city.
Really tell me about that. I'm not really familiar. What is that one?
It's called the Nucleus Project by Stark that they just approved today. Got a 6-0 approval. It's going to consist of, you know, two big skyscrapers, and it's going to be right by East Fourth in that parking lot where they held the TNT, like, you know, the Kendrick Lamar party and everything, in an old parking garage right across from the Q. But it's supposed to be like City Center in Vegas. It's supposed to be like the Time Warner Center in New York. It's supposed to be a massive project that's bringing hundreds of thousands of square feet of office space, 500 new apartments, hotel, retail. It's supposed to be the new project that changes Cleveland. You've got the East Bank of the Flats, and they're working on the lakefront plan right now. So, I mean, like I said, this is Cleveland's revitalization. You know, Pittsburgh's been going through it a little bit longer, and downtown Pittsburgh is beautiful. And it's something that Cleveland's transforming right now, and it's going to be a sight to see coming, in a couple of years with all the new hotels sprouting up, new apartments, new everything.
And the GOP convention picked Cleveland a couple.
Well, that's
months
one of
ago,
the big things that sparked all the new hotels.
Oh.
I mean, it's been huge. I mean, another thing is, I mean, cities blossom by having conventions and having tourism. Cleveland, without the convention center, wasn't able to attract anything. You know, people are going to the AX Center, which is a dump.
That place is a dump.
And it's also in a bad location. There's no hotels out by the airport like that.
Right.
You go downtown, though, which has 6 new hotels opening up in the next 2 years. It's a totally different scenario. You know, Cleveland Browns team is being redone. The players actually like being in Cleveland. They can actually sign good free agents without having to overpay for them.
Because it's a cool place. There's a lot going on, and it's
the culinary scene. Yeah, it's fun. I've got a friend who's a coach, who's an assistant coach for the Cavs. You know, he loves Cleveland, loves it. You know, it's a great city. It's got a lot of culture. It was something I grew up on. I never loved Cleveland.
Yeah.
And now it's at the point where, you know, I mean, like I said, I travel all the time. I'm not in Cleveland that often. I'm really not. But, you know, it's a city when I'm there, I really do enjoy it. I didn't used to like it so much. It used to be kind of run down. But they have all these neighborhoods. You have a bunch of young people moving back to the city. And it's a nice thing to see. People love the Cavs. You know, you're starting to get that point where you're having different celebrities at the Cavs game all the time now. You will. And it's reminiscent of back in the mid-2000s when you had LeBron, late 2000s. And it's really lit a spark under the city with the Browns becoming better again. You know, they're redoing Progressive Field right now. You know, there's cranes up all over the place over there, and it's like I said, it's just nice to see this finally happening.
What are the upgrades? I saw some of the stuff with.
They're putting in a party porch up in like right field. They got rid of 6,000 seats.
6,000. Why did they get rid of 6,000 seats?
They removed them. They're putting a party deck there instead, like up in right field.
Okay.
I mean, they're moving the bullpens. They're trying to create a better fan experience, and I'm glad. I mean, Progressive Field needed a renovation, just like the Q did, and just like Cleveland Brown Stadium definitely needed a renovation.
That's weird that they need renovations only 10 years, or 15.
I mean, don't forget, the stadium's 20 years old. All those stadiums, two of those stadiums, I mean, don't forget, Cleveland Browns, they cut corners on because last minute the city couldn't really fund it. Don't forget that the stadium was originally supposed to be 78,000 people, and they downsized it to 73,200. And, don't forget, they had the worst scoreboards. They ran out of money. That was the problem. Cleveland Brown Stadium was never a state-of-the-art stadium, even when it was new. It didn't even have an escalator. Now there's 4 of them. There were no escalators in the entire stadium. You couldn't get up and down. You had to take the ramp up, and on a hot day or a cold day, it was terrible.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Jacobs Field and Progressive Park, Progressive Field, whatever.
Progressive Field and Quicken Loans Arena are about 20 years old. I mean, don't forget, they're tearing down stadiums after 20 years now.
That is just crazy to me.
Think about that one. I mean, think about that. I mean, these stadiums now, they're still state-of-the-art. I mean, don't forget the first one of the state-of-the-art stadium was Camden Yards in U.S. Cellular Field. Those were the first ones of the new era in 1991.
Jeez.
I mean, that's what started the whole stadium revolution. You didn't have these, crossover stadiums with 2 teams in one stadium anymore.
Oh, man, like Oakland playing up there on a baseball field. Oh,
Oakland, Miami, San Diego. I mean, the only team left is Oakland now. I mean, the 49ers aren't a candlestick anymore, which used to be a dual park. I mean, Qualcomm's still a dump. I'm sure you've been there.
I have, yeah. I felt like I was at work release day at some kind of prison yard, like playing longest yard. It was horrible.
Exactly. They don't have the escalators in there either. I mean, in the lower deck, you have to stand to see because it's meant for baseball, so it's too low. The upper decks, you can't. In the middle decks, you can't. You can only see the scoreboard or the video board, which is the way the stadium's enclosed. I mean, it's terrible. And Oakland's I won't even go there for a game. It's such a dump.
It's more the people that I'm okay avoiding. When I went to that Raiders game,
I'd rather watch the game in my own living room than sit there and be harassed.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in for that. But talk about stadiums. When I was back in Cleveland recently, back in Ohio recently. I was in Columbus and I was in Cleveland, moving around and stuff. And I also went to another stadium in Ohio, not just the Browns. I went down to the old Horseshoe Stadium. With the Ohio State Buckeyes. That is a really old stadium down there. That was my first home game ever.
The press boxes are gorgeous down there. The concourses are renovating. I mean, you got the stadium that's about 100 years old. But they keep working on renovations for it. And the thing is, if you can keep renovating a stadium, that's fine. I mean, what the Browns are doing right now, you eliminate the chance to have to build a new stadium. I mean, yeah, it would be great to have a retractable roof in Cleveland and the $1.5 billion stadium like Dallas. Because you'd attract Final Fours and stuff. Yeah, it'd be phenomenal, but it's not possible.
Is it? But hold on. If it's not, I gotta think that anything could be possible these days.
I mean, it is, but the problem is, where are you going to build that stadium? That's the question too. One, they've already pumped the money into this, so it's not happening. 2, if it did happen, I don't even know where they would build it. There's no room downtown anymore to build unless you built the stadium up in Chester. But there's still not room there. I mean, the thing is, you could build it as conceivably next door, in the lot next to Brown Stadium. But like I said, it's a project that's never going to happen. It's something the city, being built on landfill, it's not going to happen, and the city's not going to spend that kind of money to do it. They don't need an urban metropolis like Dallas has.
Built on landfill. That kind of sums it up a little bit. That's where this city has been, built on landfill.
I mean, don't forget, this is a city that was run so poorly. I mean, don't forget, this is a city that was bigger than Chicago for years. And look at Chicago compared to Cleveland. Chicago was building skyscraper after skyscraper, where Cleveland neglected their skyline for years. You had a mayor in Dennis Kucinich who was so anti-big business. He drove 10 Fortune 500 companies away. Cleveland had 28 Fortune 500 companies back in the 70s. More than any other city in the country. More than New York.
More than New York?
You drove them away. That's the thing. You can't. That's what happens. And finally, people can complain. I know this is a sports talk show, but I'm getting a little off topic.
No, go there. Go there.
And saying that, like, Frank Jackson is the first mayor. People have ripped on Frank Jackson, but he's the first one to actually get stuff done. I mean, don't forget, we've had the new convention center built. We've had this is 3 stadiums being redone now. You have, like I said, it's the conversion rates. I mean, don't forget, downtown's population has quadrupled since he's been the mayor. And it's going to even double from here on.
How many years is that? How many years has he been mayor?
I don't know, like 5 or 6. I mean, it's been new project after new project.
So is it a Republican-Democrat thing? Because we just saw...
No, I don't think it is a Republican-Democrat thing. I think it's something that, people had, he had been, the tax credits, everything. You have to look at it, and you have to encourage businesses to want to come downtown. I don't think anybody had been progressive enough to do that.
Except Progressive Field, of course. But
I mean, it's looking at stuff, and you're looking and saying, okay, Progressive moved out to the suburbs. Cleveland would have 2 of the tallest buildings in the United States of America if they actually had a decent mayor in place back in the day. Ameritrust, which was going to build, if you look up at West 6th Street in Cleveland, Ameritrust was set to build a 1,300-foot building, on that property where they knocked down a bunch of buildings, I mean, in decent-sized buildings, too, back in the late 80s, to build this building, and then Ameritrust wound up getting sold to Key Bank, and they wound up not building the building because Cleveland couldn't give them a good deal. So, I mean, don't forget, you'd be looking at having the tallest building outside of New York and Chicago in the United States in that spot. And then the same with Progressive, with Peter Lewis, who's going to build a 1,200-foot building down by the lakeside of Jones Day building. And there you go. Cleveland would actually have a legitimate skyline. We've had a lot of big businesses in town. And instead you didn't do that. And now you're trying to work its way back. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been 25 years. But they're finally able to work their way back. Look what Pittsburgh did. You've got a world-renowned university in Pittsburgh, like Carnegie Mellon. And you're able to take advantage of Cleveland's finally doing that with Case, too. I mean, go look at University Circle. I don't know if you've been there in a long time, but go look at University Circle. The area is gorgeous. You're taking advantage of the museums, taking advantage of everything. The big thing they still have to integrate is they still have to get the rapid system or a subway system going throughout the city to be able to connect all these neighborhoods, because you've got Ohio City, you've got Tremont, you've got University Circle, you've got Gordon Square, the Detroit Shoreway, downtown. And downtown is big. I mean, the thing with downtown Cleveland, it's not a small downtown. It's a relatively large downtown.
Yeah, because
area-wise,
you think about a place like Manhattan, and it's very condensed. It's tight and very tall. When you say out Los Angeles, yes, Los Angeles does have a air quote downtown area where the Lakers play and the convention center and stuff.
That's the thing. Downtown LA, you walk 1 block away from the arena and you're going to get shot.
Yeah, they've been putting more into it with the Nokia Center and Nokia Theater and whatnot. It's gotten better, but what I'm saying is LA is a sprawling place that kind of spans all over. So you're saying Cleveland is definitely not a huge sprawl like that. It's definitely not tight and tall like Manhattan, but it's a big downtown specific area, and they just got to connect it better.
You've got the Flats, you've got the North Coast Harbor, where the Rock Hall is. You've got Public Square. You've got the Central Business District. You've got the Cleveland Clinic. I mean, you've got Cleveland State, which they're finally, Cleveland State. You go over there down in Chester. I mean, it's a beautiful area now. I mean, it was an area that was a dump for years. And the thing is, like I said, it's just new building after new building. You're attracting, Cleveland State was strictly a commuter school. You're now attracting out-of-state kids. You're getting kids from Pennsylvania. It's a much better school than it was. You're getting kids from all over. Not from California, obviously. It's not Ohio State, but you're getting kids from all over from all over this region.
Well, I actually like how you did that, though. Bring it back to Ohio State, because I did want to talk about that for a second. 2 7-1 teams. Obviously, the Buckeyes had a big, just a fumble, just a really everything that could have went wrong for them, and they lost a game that makes no sense. And of course, that's the only reason.
Like you said, it does make sense why they lost, because they looked terrible against Navy, and they got their blank together after that loss to Virginia Tech and started steamrolling teams. Now they look bad against Penn State too, but like I said, they came out with a win. And Virginia Tech is a bad football team, and that loss is costing right now. I mean, they need to beat Michigan State tomorrow, and they need Nebraska to win out, and then smother Nebraska in the Big Ten championship game. That's what you need to do.
Could Nebraska win out?
I don't see why not. They've been playing good football. I really want to see Ohio State in there. I definitely think they'll be in there next year. They're still a very young team.
I mean, okay, imagine Nebraska wins out, and then you have coming up here, taking down a Michigan State team and taking down a very tough Nebraska team, and I would say with one loss, I don't know, does that totally trump everybody in the SEC, constantly backslapping each other about how amazing they are? Because you got to get into the top four to make the playoffs. And I don't know. Do you see Florida State and Mississippi State losing? Do you think Jameis Winston is going to get busted? What is this point shaving thing? Tell me about that.
So basically, what happened? I was listening the other night. I mean, I don't use him as a source ever, and I mean ever. Incarcerated Bob. Because I mean, when he breaks stories, he's right 50% of the time. He's wrong 50% of the time, which means he's just spewing out breaking nonsense. I mean, if I want to do that on my Twitter, I could do the same thing too. You know, if I had a guess, I'd be right about 50 to 60. I'd be right about 65% of the time. Like I said, I'm not willing to lose my credibility over guessing, and that's what he does. And you know, this is the guy who guaranteed Chip Kelly to the Browns 2 years ago, who gave him a 99.9% chance, 99.5% chance of getting Chip Kelly, and they didn't get him. So
yeah, you got to be careful with those things.
I was listening to Paul Feinbaum on ESPN coming back from Pennsylvania. I'm outside of Pittsburgh, and I'm listening on Sirius satellite. And all of a sudden, they start going in. Someday a caller call in, starts talking about a point shading scandal, and they go, "Okay, we got to get incarcerated Bob on the line."
Okay, hold on. Pause right there when we get incarcerated Bob on the line, because just for the record, I will state it was a year ago. You said LeBron James is definitely coming back to Cleveland. You know, the story was out there, but you actually.
I wasn't playing a guessing game though. I was pretty. The thing is,
you had information.
The people I had talked to. And my connection.
You had information that you shared with me that neither you and I shared with the audience, but we were both fairly certain, I would say with 95% certainty. At least that's the number I kept it at. 95%. I'm not sure if your number fluctuated.
I remember telling you last year. I mean, I called you when I knew it was coming. I called you and told you. I said to you, if the Heat do not win the final this year, he's guaranteed to come back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
If they win the finals, it's a different story. But I said, as long as Miami doesn't win, which they won't win, I told you their title run was 2 years long. And they after their last title, I told you that it wouldn't beat San Antonio the next year. Their title run was over. And I was right on that one. They got steamrolled. And after it was shocking to see that LeBron could possibly come back to Miami. It really was. And, and like I said, the whole time, I was very confident LeBron was coming back. I had a lot of confidence that he would come back.
So now let's take that with that knowledge and with that story up on the shelf there, the skepticism with which you look at people like anyone on Twitter that's wrong half the time, and you can point out on two hands at least 7 or 8 times they've been totally off base. You got to question if someone's just throwing darts or if somebody is speaking with information. So what happens now when this caller gets on the air with the Jameis Winston
Paul
story?
Paul Feinbaum brings him on. They go through his background. And incarcerated Bob, he's a handicapper. And they bring him over, and he tells the story, basically saying Jameis Winston's high school teammate, who he's good friends with, plays for UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. And that this guy had been betting $100 a game, $200 a game, never more than that. That $5,500 on the first half of Louisville, with taking Louisville in the first half. And don't forget, Florida State was down 21-0, and Jameis Winston threw 2 picks in the first half of that football game. And the guy won his money.
Whoa.
So the bookie had come out, and now it was on TMZ. I mean, now you've actually got credible people talking about it. ESPN is not talking about it. TMZ is talking about it. Nobody's giving incarcerated Bob the credit for this story. I mean, I was saying ESPN was citing TMZ. They were not citing incarcerated Bob, because incarcerated Bob is not a reputable source. Yeah, he broke this story, but at the same time, he's not reputable. And ESPN, I don't think, is willing to put their reputation on the line. Where in other rooms, give TMZ the credit for going through and doing the research on the story.
Yeah, because TMZ is a credible research agency. It's like hiring a private detective snooping for some dirt, see? It's like those undercover...
Much as the dirt and the crap TMZ puts on there,
yeah,
they do the research before they do it.
Hey, they got rid of Donald Sterling. That's a powerful organization there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Harvey Levin's no dummy. I mean, he's an attorney. And he was a good one at that, too. That's the thing, is Harvey Levin knows what he's doing. He's not going to sit there and make up some BS and post it on the website to get ratings. He's not, like I said, the Radar Online stuff is a joke. Us Weekly, those are all jokes. Like I said, when the whole Tiger Woods porno scandal broke out, when he was sleeping with with a girl from our high school, and I'll never forget reading online the exact this is when I realized that one of the kids I knew was the one feeding the information to Radar Online and Daily Mail and all those ones. And I realized, I go, they're using this kid as a source. Are you kidding me? He's not even first in. He called in, they gave him, and I was like, okay, this is when I realized these are not reputable sources. It took me a while, but it was 2011 or 2010. It was one of those, maybe even 2009. Whenever the scandal broke out, he was dating a girl from our high school. And getting back to my point, though, is TMZ is not going to break. TMZ never broke that story. It was true, but not on the lines when this kid confirmed it. It wasn't, what he confirmed wasn't exactly the truth.
Oh, okay.
When TMZ confirmed it, they had a different story. They had the truth. And TMZ is going to, spend every resource they have trying to find the truth.
Yeah, and it's one thing to have part of a story and insinuate that something might be going on versus declaring with 100% certainty, I have the answer, that's what's happening in this situation. There's a difference. That's what I do on my political shows. I put a bunch of interesting theories out there, and I entertain them. Does it mean that I believe hardcore 100% in every single interesting topic that I talk about? No, but there are interesting correlations, and there's a couple of points that make me go, I don't have it all figured out with what happened on September 11th, but Tower 7 collapsing is very interesting to me, and I want to listen to other people talk to me about it, and I'll talk back, and
exactly.
I'm forming my impression.
You can have a personal opinion, you can, like I said, you can throw stuff out there, but you're not saying it's the truth. What this guy's doing, I mean, like I said, every time I've come on there with credible information on your show that I've shared with you, I mean, I've given you credible information before and told you not to cite me as a source.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it was true, but I could not allow that to, I could not allow...
Can I say one of them?
To be the source.
Can I
say
that?
You can say it.
I believe it was when our coach was fired last year, the Cavs, right?
With Mike Brown.
Yeah, that was one of the most recent ones. Although recently we had the Ray Allen tweak where everybody jumped forward and said, "Oh, wait, he signed." Wait, no, he didn't actually. Wait, where did that story come from? Everybody kind of did that.
Exactly. Ray Allen will be signing. My guess is in February with the Cavaliers. And like I said, I have credible information that says he will be signing with the Cavs in February. But like I said, I'm not willing to bet my reputation on it. I'll say
exactly.
He'll most likely be a Cavalier in February.
Yeah, we've heard rumblings. We've heard rumblings about Ray Allen signing, but we're not ready to confirm because we don't know.
The Cavaliers pick up the pace and they're in contention again and they're playing well and they've got a championship. And like Ray Allen will be, in my word, the Cleveland Cavalier come February. But until then, I'm not going to guarantee anything.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that makes sense. And I'm usually willing to entertain any lengthy conversation with someone that's at least willing to be intellectually honest enough to admit when they don't know with 100% certainty what they feel about something, or at least a couple of things are steering them toward looking more closely at this side as something they believe in. And it's just about being straight up with that. And it's interesting you talk about this story because it gets back to the credibility of the person saying it. I pulled this up here. It says, regarding Jameis Winston, allegations of sexual assault, a suspension from baseball for stealing crab legs from a grocery store, a suspension from football for yelling an obscene, demeaning phrase in the middle of Florida State Student Union.
Actually, that's my new saying. When I see my friends, that's what I say when they go and pick up a girl at a bar. That's what I go and say to them.
FMRITP.
Yeah,
that one. Okay, that was actually very difficult. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Anyway, I digress. So, sexual assault, stealing crab legs, jumping up on the table and yelling what he yelled, allegations of violating NCAA rules by selling autographs, all those storylines have brought down an avalanche of well-deserved negative publicity on Florida State quarterback Jameis Winston. But the latest storyline, that Winston may have been shaving points during Florida State's 42-31 win at Louisville, October 30th, should be met with a heaping dose of skepticism, given the source, a gambling website run by a guy who calls himself Incarcerated Bob, and who, according to veteran sports journalist David Purdom, has repeatedly posted bogus stories in the past aimed at gaining him publicity and allowing him to sucker gamblers into paying him for picks. Purdom wrote about Incarcerated Bob on his own website last year, but now covers gambling for ESPN. The latest dose of nonsense came in the form of a post on Incarcerated Bob's website saying that Chris Rabb, a former high school teammate and close friend of Winston's, who's now a defensive end at University of Alabama, Birmingham. This is very specific. I'm my words now. This is very specific story here, whether true or not. I'll continue the story. That this, what's his name, Chris Rabb, now at University of Alabama, Birmingham, wagered $5,500 against Florida State on the first half line against Louisville, meaning he would win his wager if the Cardinals were either winning, tied, or down by a point. If Rab really had placed such a bet, Winston's performance in the first half would have sounded alarms. Florida State played an awful first half and trailed 21-7 at the break before dominating in the second half, meaning that anyone who would have bet on Louisville in the first half would have won his or her bet with room to spare. The insinuation in the report is that Winston conspired with Rab to play so poorly in the first half that the Seminoles would fail to cover the first half line, thereby allowing Rab to win his bet. The problem with the story is that unless Rab really did place such a bet, there's no reason to read anything into Winston's performance. And given Incarcerated Bob's history, there's little reason to believe the story about Rab.
Exactly.
So that's where the issue is. There's a history there of not telling good stories.
This is a guy who is repeatedly, like I said, he said, he's broken false news stories. Chip Kelly to the Cleveland Browns with 99.5% certainty. Okay, when you're doing that, and then basically his excuse when everybody was ripping him after, he goes, "Well, I didn't say it was 100%. The deal fell apart last minute." Joe Banner will counter that and basically say, "We never had a deal in place." Joe Banner's as honest as he can be on Twitter, at least in my opinion, and he even said, "We never had a deal in place with Chip Kelly. We met him for dinner. That's what we did. We had a long dinner with him. We never agreed upon a deal. We were not even close. We never even broke into contract negotiations," he said. And there was incarcerated. I'll never forget that. I sounded like a moron. I remember I was out. My friends were going nuts about it. I go, "Don't forget the source." I was out in Miami. I won't forget. It was New Year's in Miami. I will never forget that. Sitting there in South Beach at a restaurant at Prime 112. Out walks Todd McShay, Todd Blackledge, all the guys from ESPN. And I even asked Todd. I said, "Chip Kelly to the Browns?" He goes, "No."
Huh. And so, either you don't believe your lying eyes. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
Well, that's the thing is the guy isn't a credible wit. The problem is the guy, he doesn't break any credible stories is his issue. And if he's going to do that, it's not going to, like I said, it's not believable. That's the problem. You don't know when to trust the guy, and you don't know when to, you don't know. The problem is you don't know when to believe his stories, and it becomes a huge problem.
Yes, you're absolutely right with that. And so Incarcerated Bob's website developed a big following over the past several years. And some of the stuff that he reported on his site has actually come to fruition. For instance, Zach, he posted before most other outlets that LeBron James would be going back to Cleveland, but that's an educated guess that a host of other reporters and bloggers were making for months leading up to James' decision.
I knew LeBron was coming back to the Cavs. Like I said, I had known. Like I said, I told you a year ago.
Yeah, that was exactly a year ago.
I told you exactly those. I told you the exact scenario in which LeBron would be coming back to Cleveland, and it happened just like that. But I wasn't sitting there on my, I was saying that LeBron was coming here. I was saying it on air, but by no means was I breaking a news story. Like, going breaking news, LeBron James back to Cleveland. I wasn't doing that. And it's something I would never do because it wasn't written in stone. And if it wasn't, I would have looked like an idiot and lost all my credibility. So I wasn't willing to do that. But
on the other side as well, as a journalist, a lot of times the only reason you know anything is because you have sources. And if you trust your sources, that allows you to say with more certainty without as many other confirmations around you without having to risk your own credibility. And it's the reason why our First Amendment gives us the rights to protect our sources, which is why there's a Fourth Amendment protecting us against people spying and snooping and gathering all of your information, because the media cannot function without sources that are, look at Woodward and Bernstein, and look at what happened with Nixon and Watergate. You have to have sources. So yeah, you gave me information, and I did not. And like I said, when I knew Mike Brown was being fired too.
Like I said, I worked in the NBA. I knew he was being fired. I knew the exact deal when he was being fired. But I asked you not to name me as a source because, like I said, I wasn't allowed to reveal that.
And
it's not my information to break.
Right.
And that's why I asked you not to.
And I respected that. And anyone that knew our relationship would know Okay, well, I mean, he talks with this guy all the time. It's likely, but hey, I've never said that, and I'm not going to say where that came from. And you leave it at that and you move on. But anyway, back to this guy. It says, but a lot of what he's posted referring to incarcerated Bob in the past, including a claim that former Clemson quarterback Taj Boyd was $80,000 deep in gambling debt, and one that Floyd Mayweather bet almost $6 million on the Miami Heat in Game 7 of the 2013 Eastern Conference Finals, have turned out to be completely false. Here's how the Big Lead's Jason McIntyre summed up the Boyd situation after reporters had asked about Boyd and Incarcerated Bob's reports. Quote, enter a fraud named Incarcerated Bob. You've never heard of him because he's a joke, who's already been exposed as a complete fraud. You must read this. Every 6 months, when someone mentions him to me on Twitter, I block that person for being stupid. Incarcerated Bob attempted to buy credibility by purchasing Twitter followers, and when that
bought
failed,
100,000 Twitter followers.
And when that failed, he started throwing more rumors at the internet. And because gullible people will believe anything, flat-out lies became, well, I read it on the internet. End quote. But here's what we actually know happened during the night of the Louisville game. Jameis Winston played an awful first half at Louisville before leading Florida State to a come-from-behind win. Winston played just terrible. 2 interceptions, Florida State down 21-0 and trailed by 14 at the half, covering nowhere near the first half line. Winston played a much better second half and led FSU to a come-from-behind victory to preserve its undefeated season, as well as Winston's undefeated record as starting quarterback, the team's number 2 ranking, and its place in college football playoff picture. I'll tell you what, this is very interesting, and I think, like a lot of these, where there's smoke, you need to send a few people right now to see if there's any fire. Take a look over there. I see smoke. That could be from anything. Take a look. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but the thing is, in this case, is no matter what happens, Incarcerated Bob still doesn't deserve any credit for it because he's not sitting there doing research. All he did was hear from a bookie.
Well,
I said, I mean, the problem is if you give this guy credibility and you start naming him as a source, I mean, it's like Adam Schefter did a few years ago, which was his biggest mistake with the Darrelle Revis thing. And, you know, this guy took it to heart and, you know, he's been obsessed with it. And, you know, like you said, Adam Schefter gave him a shout-out over it. And this guy, this is where he started, you know, gaining false credibility for his stories that he was breaking, that most of them weren't true. Like I said, the guy's playing a guessing game. And you said when you guess in sports, if you're remotely knowledgeable, like I said, I can guess right about 65% of the time. You know, I mean, he also broke the Pujols wasn't coming back to St. Louis. But that was, if you had any baseball knowledge and anything about the case, if you've been reading, you know, about free agency, there was no doubt he wasn't coming back to St. Louis. He kept turning down the Cardinals' offers.
Yeah. But then you look at Jameis Winston's track record.
Yeah, and the thing is, Winston could very well be, you know, shaving points. I mean, I honestly, I hope he is. I hate the guy.
I can't
really
stand
do.
him.
I despise everything about Jameis.
There are people I believe did actually rape that girl.
Oh, yeah, and I don't like Jimbo Fisher. I mean, I like I said, I'm biased. I don't like Florida State. I don't like Jimbo Fisher. I don't like the culture he's installed in this program. I think a lot of his guys are just straight scumbags.
Well, here's the thing, though. Mark my words on this, and I'll go down with the ship right now. If there is truth to this, and that he helped Rab win $5,000, this is way bigger than Rab, and there are a lot of people.
That's what I'm saying. If Winston goes down in this, let's just say for some reason Winston is involved in this, this will be the largest scandal in college football in God knows when. I mean, because like I said, this is a Heisman winner.
Yeah, a Heisman winner,
He's won
undefeated team.
A national championship winner.
Right. This is Pete Rose betting on his team.
Exactly. This is just as big as the Pete Rose scandal. I mean, this would be.
This might be bigger.
This is bigger than. I mean, like I said, if this is true, it's bigger than the whole Penn State scandal.
The Penn State scandal was worse, but it wasn't.
It's bigger. This is bigger news involving college football. What's worse, a bunch of children being molested is way worse than a guy shaving points.
Oh yeah.
What I'm saying is, though, I mean, there's no doubt about what's a worse event. I mean, but I'm saying this is a, you know, this should be horrible.
Would it be a bigger story than Pete Rose getting banned from baseball?
Like I said, it's just as big because especially nowadays with social media, you didn't have social media back in the day. This is what's different about everything nowadays.
Huh. But apparently, according to this story, UAB is also interested to see if Rab was gambling on college sports at all, because it's a huge no-no for active college athletes. So you can put the pressure on this Rab kid without having to go through Winston, who feels invincible. If he's raping people, stealing, he's like, you know what? I see crab legs. I want crab legs. I take crab legs. Thinking just straight up barbaric caveman. I see, I want, I take. They're pretty girl. I'll take pretty girl. You know, oh, there's money. I'm going to sign autographs. Oh, I'm going to jump up on a table and prove that I don't give a F about anybody but me, and say something, you know, I mean, come on, we've all been places and said dumb things, and, you know, we're all allowed to have that side to us, but jumping on the table is screaming to the world, I am more powerful than any of those rules and societal norms that you wish to put upon me. I'm going to do this, and what are you going to do about it? It's a brazen, come and get me kind of thing. And that's what I don't like about Jameis Winston, and I never have. Not for a single moment. I don't trust a thing about this guy. I don't like him at all. And I really just don't believe that if you're willing to jump up on a table and do that, if you're willing to go into a store and just grab crab legs, say, I want these and I'm taking them.
He forgot to pay for them.
Right. He forgot to pay for them.
I mean, honestly, I honestly don't see how any team actually drafts him. I mean, I would cross him off my big board right now if I were, you know. But like I said, I've worked in football since college, so you know, it's not my problem.
Yeah, well, they're looking into this story, and we'll see if that is the case. But back to a team trying to take him over. We're just touching on this. Ohio State versus Michigan State, you know, college game days there, and it's awesome because college game days in East Lansing, where Brian Hoyer's, actually First Take was there this morning, and that's where Brian Hoyer played quarterback. That's where the Spartans are taking on the Buckeyes, and their lead story is about LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, that's not a positive story, but it's kind of like all three of these super teams, with the Buckeyes, the Browns, and the Cavaliers, it's all kind of the biggest game in town, Zach. It's pretty cool to be the absolute center, the mecca of the sports universe for this moment in time. It feels very interesting. The energy going into and coming back from Cleveland is a very interesting portal that's been created. Like you said, that didn't used to be there before the city changed.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you make of Michigan State then? What do you make of the Buckeyes looking at this one? We talked about the mistake the Buckeyes made. It's going to be a
very tough game tomorrow. I'd like to see Ohio State pull it off. Obviously, I'm a Buckeye fan, but like I said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. I really hope they have it in them to win this.
I think they're a much better team now than they were 2, 3, 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah, no doubt, but Michigan State's not going to be a pushover. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, no. They're not. You don't win the Rose Bowl the year before by accident, and if you didn't have to play the number 4 ranked team, Oregon, who's 8-1, maybe you'd be undefeated too. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that. A lot of people maybe predicting Sparty's going to win. Oh, did you get tagged on a tweet that we sent out earlier today?
I did.
The one that 101% of sports fans agree?
Yes.
That was pretty ridiculous. ESPN put up this stat. Go on our Twitter feed at American_media_, and scroll down a little bit. We tagged Zach on one of these. He's at Zak Baris. That's ZBARIS. But our buddy Greg Moore, he did maybe he's done 2 Cleveland Browns shows with me, and we're going to do some more going forward when the schedules make sense. But yeah, there was a graphic they put up. It was like 73%. Was it 73? Whatever the exact numbers were, it added up to 101%, and it was really funny. But yeah, it was basically 3 out of 4 people predicted that the Spartans were going to win. Zach, you know, that's kind of what the general feeling of the country is at this point. But you know, Urban Meyer's a big-time coach with big-time players who play big-time in big-time games. Not perfect by any stretch. You know, they definitely have had a couple moments where they've looked very vincible, very, very defeatable. I think I created the opposite word of invincible. I don't know that vincible is a thing. But if there's any coach that could do it, you know Urban Meyer's the one that could, right? You have faith that the Buckeyes coach gives them a significant, if not an advantage, you know that one of the best ever is at the helm, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I trust Herb going into that game tomorrow. I have full faith in him. But, I mean, I think they should be able to win it. It's going to be a tough one, though.
Ooh, do you predict a score in that one? Would you dare?
I'm not predicting a score in that one. No way. I know I'll be way off. No way.
Yeah, I think I would be the same. Especially coming from a homer. I don't. It's hard for me to be objective when I'm so constantly optimistic that my teams are always going to be amazing. It's the one time a year. It's like my fairy tale. I wish for that dream season and that championship. You know, and Ohio State did give me the only one that I could celebrate. It wasn't from a Cleveland team, but it was the closest thing. It was, you know, it was an Ohio State Buckeye win, and what was it, double overtime against Miami. Kellen Winslow. It was a crazy Maurice Claret. It was the only time I've been able to celebrate, and yeah, but I tend to make my predictions very positive in a home favorable light. So it's probably best I steer clear of Vegas. But anyhow, real quick, I got about maybe 45 seconds left. Give us an update what you're up to, doing NBA consulting, and just where is Zak Baris?
Advising a couple of college kids right now, a couple NBA players, basically still what I'm doing. And, you know, that's about it on that level. You know, still just doing advising and working with them directly to, you know, to do on-court stuff, working with training, and basically, you know, just that kind of going through the measures.
Very cool. Does it feel different not watching as much basketball as you used to?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a lot again. It's nice to be watching a ton of basketball again.
But you get to watch it a different way when you're from this capacity.
Yeah, it's different, but I'm still watching it the same way. That's the thing. I'm still sitting there analyzing all these players. I'm like, okay, you know, it's still tough to go to a basketball game and actually watch just for fun. It really is tough.
Oh yeah, the person that used to run the restaurant and bar that I worked at in my hometown, she told me a story once about how it's impossible to go out to eat with her. Because she'll sit down in another restaurant, she'll go, did you see that hostess? Why was her shirt untucked? Did you see if there was a candy wrapper in the hallway? Why didn't somebody come sweep that up? And everything the whole time, she's breaking it down and, you know, looking at it and analyzing it. So, you know, sometimes after you've been trained, you'll never see the world the same place again. But, hey, I'll tell you what, man, you know, hopefully the Browns get a chance to take this next win against the Texans and push us into the playoffs. Hopefully the Buckeyes pull out an enormous win in East Lansing. And, you know, hopefully the Cavs are going to get better, and we're going to bring you back into the program when the Cavs are doing good, and we're going to look back at this and laugh that we were even concerned, right?
Very true.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, take care, be safe, have fun out in Vegas, and for anyone who isn't following him, make sure you are. He's on Twitter at ZBaris. That's Z-B-A-R-I-S. Zach, thank you for joining us on the program again. We always appreciate it, pal.
All right, thanks, Brian. Have a good one.
You too. For everybody here at the TNAM Radio Network, this is Brian Engelman signing out, thanking you, stay safe, and peace.